What's up? Coach Dan Blewett here. In today's video, we're going to talk about whether you should throw a slider or a curveball. And this is obviously an important topic, especially for younger pitchers who are just learning one pitch or the other. So it's not really recommended to throw both, a slider and a curveball. So it takes a decent little checklist to go through to figure out which of the two pitches is going to be best for you. So if you're considering learning how to throw a slider or how to throw a curveball and you're not sure which one to pick, this video I think is going to cover pretty much all of it for you today. Okay, so before we get going, I'm going to put timestamps in the description below. So if you want to jump right to the curveball reasons or you want to jump to a specific slider reason, they'll all be in the description, so you don't have to watch the entire video if you just want to jump to a quick section or the other. So first, let's start with slider stuff. So figuring out, is throwing a slider right for you as a pitcher? So first factor to consider, can you spin the pitch well? And that seems like the most obvious one. But when you're learning a pitch, it's going to take some time to figure out if you can actually throw really well. I've had kids that I've worked with who throw a curveball extremely well, and they just don't seem to get the slider. So in a week, they might be throwing a curveball with really good spin. In 2 months, their slider still looks junky. It just depends. It's a different hand action. There's definitely some considerations. But number one is, can you actually make it spin reasonably well in a short period of time? If the answer is yes, then that might be a good sign that this is a pitch that you can really develop well. Number two, a slider is good for you if you have a lower arm slot. So if you're a guy who's somewhere down here, whether you're sidearm or low 3/4, it's going to match your arm slot a lot better just because you can't really get on top of a curveball as well when your arm slot is lower. So when your arm slot is lower, the slider is going to be the natural choice for you. Plus, when you throw a slider, this is our next reason, you're often going to be able to make the ball sink a lot easier, and you're going to make it run to the arm side. So how that works is the slider pairs well with that because the fastball comes in and it sinks away or runs away, and the slider comes in and then it cuts to the other side of the plate. So now you have, out of your fastball's tunnel, sinker and slider go the opposite directions, and obviously the changeup goes out there as well. So most lower arm slot pitchers throw a fastball, a sinker, a slider, and a changeup because they all sort of break out of the same tunnel low in the zone. So if you're a lower arm slot pitcher, and if you have some good sink and run, which you probably do from a lower slot, then the slider is going to pair well in your repertoire. Reason number 4 for picking a slider over a curveball. So if you throw a curveball now and you really struggle to locate it, it's going to become a non-factor if hitters realize that you can never throw your curveball for a called strike. And because of the big break, it is hard to throw it. That's something I struggled to throw for a called strike my entire career, even though I had a really sharp curveball. It has a bigger break. The curveball strike zone kind of seems smaller because umpires get fooled by it a little bit. So if you struggle to throw your curveball, then this is a common reason why a lot of players will switch to a slider, because the slider, you kind of hammer it into the center of the zone. And if you throw it like a fastball into the middle of the zone, it's going to stay there because the break is a lot smaller. So you have a lot more room, a lot more wiggle room and margin for error when you throw a slider, and it's a lot easier to throw for called strikes. And let me tell you, having thrown a curveball my whole life, when I did adopt a slider in my last season, I was tinkering with it. It was like, oh my God, this is so much easier to throw for a strike. And for me, if I had chosen that pitch earlier, my path might have been a little bit different. Now, without getting into my background, just having thrown both pitches and felt the difference, it's a lot easier to throw a slider for a called strike. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be always going to be a better pitch if you have a really sharp curveball, but it's something to consider, because if your curveball is thrown for a ball over and over and over, it's not going to have much of an effect for you because hitters are just going to stop swinging at it, right? So if you struggle with your command, the slider is probably the easier pitch. Number 5, so you might want to throw a slider if you have really good quick arm speed. So you kind of know this when you see it. You'll see a pitcher who just like, boom, their arm is lightning fast. Maybe their body's really slow early and they just have a really quick arm. Obviously, you could have two pitchers that throw the same velocity, like they could both throw 90, and one looks like he has a really fast arm, and the other one looks like his arm is moving slower, so maybe he gets more contribution from his body. Either way, the arm speed thing is kind of hard to explain, but you kind of know it when you see it. So I've worked with a lot of pitchers who have really quick arms, like they really finish the ball well, and they are really good at spinning sliders because they just go boom and they're right through the middle of it. And that's the other thing in this 5th tip, is that some pitchers are good at getting over the curveball, like getting over it and putting that top spin on it. Other pitchers are not that good at it. They're good at getting through the ball. They're really good finishers. They can throw the crap out of a fastball. And if you're in that kind of category and you have really quick arm speed, then a slider is often an easy pitch for you to learn because you just get to hammer it through the strike zone and you don't have to overthink it that much. Whereas the curveball is a little bit different in the way you're actually going to get over the pitch in your hand action, all that kind of stuff. Reason number 6 to maybe throw a slider is that in youth baseball, pretty much every kid is taught a curveball first. So basically the pitches that, a 13-year-old has seen by time he's, 13, 14, 15 is a fastball, a curveball. Those are the two most prevalent. To a lesser degree, changeups, because kids don't throw changeups very well, so lots of them scrap them because the curveball is kind of fun and they get a lot of swings and misses. So lots of kids are just fastball, curveball. And in my experience as a youth coach, we don't see many sliders. We see fastballs, we see curveballs, we don't see many changeups, and we don't see many sliders. So if you do decide to adopt a slider, you're kind of going to be ahead of the game in that you have a pitch that hitters don't really see very often. It's like throwing a brand new secret pitch. Like imagine if you threw a curveball before curveballs existed. Everyone would be like, what in God's name is that, right? And that's kind of the effect you get with a slider in youth baseball. So you can play that up to your advantage, knowing that other kids, they might start to understand what curveball spin looks like, but they see so few sliders that their brain's not really going to understand why that fastball coming in just broke away from them. So remember, there's definitely a much lower prevalence of sliders thrown in younger levels of baseball, and that's really up to age 18. You see less sliders. You see more kids start to adopt sliders in high school, and then a lot more in college when they realize that their curveball doesn't really work at the collegiate level. So if you decide like, hey, I can spin this pitch pretty well, and I'm 13, 14, 15, let's go with the slider, I think you're going to be at an advantage because of how few hitters actually understand and see and get comfortable with slider spin. And lastly, number 7, slider spin is harder to pick up than a curveball. And the one reason is that you're going to throw a slider harder than a curveball. So if you throw 95 miles per hour, your curveball is going to be 80, something like that, right? Maybe a little bit above, but around the 80 mark. If you throw 95 miles per hour, your slider is going to be more like 87. So hitters have less time to react, so they have to make a decision quicker, and the slider is going to take a more fastball-like trajectory because it's thrown harder. So the harder a pitch is thrown relative to the fastball, the more it's going to take a fastball-like trajectory before it breaks and does something unexpected. So curveball, just because it's going to be so much slower, typically 15 to 20% slower, it's just going to have a different trajectory than a slider. So when you're younger, your curveball especially is going to be more loopy, because if you're throwing 70, your curveball is going to be maybe 60, 58, 57, and that curveball is going to have a big loop in it compared to your fastball, even if you throw the curveball properly, because it's just so slow, you can't add in 12 inches of break and expect it to make it into the strike zone. You've kind of got to have it go up. You have to throw it up so that it comes down in the zone a little bit. The harder you throw, the more that effect goes away, but because you can throw the slider harder, it's going to look like a fastball a lot longer. Plus, the spin seems to be a little bit tougher to pick up, but that's kind of up for debate because really great curveballs are really hard to pick up as well. So that's my 7 major considerations for choosing a slider over a curveball. So now let's go to curveball tips, why you might choose to throw a curveball instead of a slider. Okay, number 1, again, here for the curveball is, do you spin it well? This is going to be, I think it's easier to make sense of the curveball spin than the slider spin, because the slider is a combination of spins. It's a combination of getting into the front of the ball, adding some forward spin to it, some top spin, and also getting around it, adding what's called gyro spin. So it's a mixture of spins, and for me as a coach, it's hard to describe how to do that. It's like, oh, you got to get to the front of it, and then you come back through it. And if you want to learn how to throw either of these two pitches, I'll also put links in the description below. But it's a little bit tougher to learn the slider because it's just kind of strange. Because again, it's a mixture. But a curveball is pretty straightforward. We know we want to see it spinning forward, either directly forward or at a slight angle. This would be like a 1-7. And when we get that, we know that we're going to get a pretty good curveball. We don't want side spin mixed in. So I think it's easier for youngsters, especially if this is the first pitch you're learning, to have a parent or a coach give you good feedback about what the spin looks like. If you've never caught someone throwing a slider, it's hard to give good feedback on a slider. So if you throw a curveball with good spin, you know it's going to continue to get better, and it might be a little bit easier to get feedback when you're younger. So I think the learning curve with a curveball can be easier because it's a little bit more straightforward in what you're looking for. Number 2, arm slot. So we talked about this with the slider. If you throw at a 3/4 or a little bit above, like over the top, which over the top and 3/4 are kind of like the same thing. Arm slots are a little bit vague. There's no like actual like chart of what your exact arm slot is, but most pitchers are 3/4. There's sidearm, low 3/4, 3/4, and over the top is kind of what describes anything above like this 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock position. So if you're 3/4 or above, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get on top of the curveball and to get the forward topspin that you want. Now, if you're 3/4 or above, you can also throw a slider. Like you see tons of big league pitchers who throw sliders at any arm angle, but you can't really throw a curveball well from a low arm angle. So if you are a 3/4 or above, you have the option to throw either pitch equally well, a slider or a curveball. But if you're a little higher over top, it definitely is easier to get to the front of the ball and apply the topspin that we want to make a curveball really sharp and really deceptive. So if you're a higher arm slot guy, you have the choice to throw either a curveball or a slider. Okay, number 3, so we talk about pitch repertoire. So if you have a high spin rate fastball, which means you get through the center of it really well and has a fast spin rate, that's going to give you this effect where it looks like it speeds up and it looks like it rises almost on hitters. It doesn't actually rise, but it will appear that way. It kind of has this like quote unquote hop to it. So if you're a pitcher who has a really good four-seamer, and this is going to, again, you're going to have the best four-seamer when you have a higher arm slot to get this kind of ride up in the zone, then you're going to be able to pitch higher in the zone. So if you throw hard, number 1, and you have good spin, number 2, which you don't necessarily need a Rhapsodo or a TrackMan, or you don't have to validate high spin rate with a device. You can just play catch and ask people to give you feedback. If hitters say, yeah, it seems like your fastball kind of jumps, that's a good indication that you have a good spin rate. So if you have a high velocity fastball and you throw your four-seamer with a good spin rate, you're going to be able to pitch up in the zone pretty well. Hitters will swing under it. It'll seem like it speeds up. They won't be able to catch up as well. And the good thing about that is, because we talked about tunneling before, is now you can throw the fastball high and throw the curveball that starts high and breaks down. So those two tunnel together and they mask each other very well. So if you're a higher arm slot and you have good spin and good fastball velocity, a curveball is going to fit your repertoire very well. Number 4, reason to throw a curveball versus a slider: if you have really good command and feel for the baseball. Some pitchers are better than this than others. If you're a pitcher who's kind of shaky on command, you just want to rip the ball and you throw like really high effort, a slider is probably going to be easier for you to keep in the strike zone. But if you have a really good feel for the strike zone, like you consistently go 5 innings, 2 walks, something like that, and you have a pretty good idea of how to get yourself back on track when you're not throwing strikes, the curveball is probably manageable for you. So it does take a lot of feel. It is hard to throw for strikes because it has the big break. But if you have good command, then the curveball can definitely be worth it, because, man, if you can go up in the zone, then throw that curveball down where it breaks down, you have a lot of hitters just buckling and watching it, and then having that curveball that comes in at about the belt, breaks to the bottom of the zone, then the curveball that starts a little bit above the knee and bounces on the plate. Those are really important big weapons that you can throw as a youngster. But if you have command, then the curveball can be a really good choice if you can spin it well as well. If you don't have as much command, then the slider is probably going to be an easier pitch for you. Number 5, I do think the curveball is probably the better starter pitch for young players, because if you consider that your version, when you just start out, say you're 14, which is the age I usually recommend to start throwing a breaking ball, is 14, though I'm aware that many of you watching this video will be 13 or 12 when you learn your first one. That's not the end of the world, but it's not what I would do if I was your coach. When you're learning your first breaking ball, it's obviously not going to be that great for a while. The more you throw it, the more experience you get with every year that goes by, it's going to get better and better. So if you start thinking of the starter version of a breaking ball, whether it's a slider or curveball, I'd say that bad curveballs are harder to hit for youth hitters than bad sliders are. Because bad sliders, when you don't throw a very good slider when you're young, it's not going to have that much break. It's not like it's got the really loopy long break. It's just going to not break as much. So it might only break like this much. And that's going to be easier for hitters to handle when they're 13 and 14. A bad curveball can still have a lot of break. It'll just be kind of loopy and kind of soft and kind of rolling, rather than just boom with this really sharp, spiky curveball. So if you're going to throw a bad version, which you are for your first year or two, I'd say you're probably going to have more success with a bad curveball, but just because it has more break, and hitters aren't good, so they're going to get on their front foot. They're going to have this bigger arc to track with their bat and be accurate with. So if you're looking for a starter pitch and you're like, I just want to get outs for a year or two, which I don't think that's really the best way to go about it. I do think, however, the curveball is probably the better pitch until it becomes the high school level where it does have to be pretty good to actually get hitters out. And the last thing I want to mention about the curveball is it's easier to pick up relative to a slider. So if you're throwing 70 miles per hour, your curveball does, again, it has to pop up a little bit to make it into the strike zone. The trajectories of a fastball that ends up at your knee can't possibly match the trajectory of a curveball that ends up at the knee, because obviously the curveball is thrown so much slower and it has 12 inches or 14 inches of break. It has to go up to make it to that same location, right? So when you're young and you don't throw closer to 80, the curveball is definitely going to be, it's definitely going to look a lot different out of your hand than the slider was, which I mentioned earlier. So that could be a consideration. But the other thing we talked about just now was that bigger break, even if they pick it up, is still really hard to make sense of and hard to hit as a young hitter. So if you're throwing this pitch, again, as a middle schooler or early high schooler, your curveball doesn't have to be stupendous to still get hitters out, even if they pick it up, because the big break. So I think it's kind of a push, even though the slider is going to be harder to identify. The curveball with a bigger break typically is probably going to be a little bit tougher for hitters to barrel up. So kind of up to you with your choice. But as I wrap this up, let me give you my overall recommendations. Pick one pitch at first. Spend a week learning it. Okay, get the spin down. I have videos in my YouTube channel to help you with that. Then the next week, pick the other pitch. All right, so spend a week on the curveball the second week. Throw it, and go back and forth for maybe a couple weeks or a month and just start to learn both, because honestly, just spinning any pitch is going to help both of them get better. After a month, pick one of them. Pick which one you're more comfortable with. If you think it breaks better, if your dad or your mom, whoever you're playing catch with, says that they think this one is better than that one, pick that one and go with it for a while. I'd say give it 6 to 12 months. Make sure you go through this video and the checklist and make sure, all right, does this match my arm slot, my repertoire, the way I pitch, all that sort of stuff. And then stick with it for 6 to 12 months. It's going to take that long for it to be good. It just is. It's going to take a while for you to throw over strikes. It's going to take a while for you to get the best shape to it, the best spin to it. And if you can't throw the pitch for strikes, which will be hard for a while, you won't really know how effective it is. If you're always just bouncing your curveball, it's not going to appear very effective because hitters won't swing at it that much. But once you start to throw it in the zone a lot more, then you're going to see how truly effective it can be, because hitters will have to swing at it. And when they have to swing at it, then you'll see if it's actually good enough to get off their barrel or to make them swing and miss. So pick one pitch after you've given it a good reason. Like, I know why I'm going to pick the slider. Give it a good 6 months to a year. Throw it in games, throw it in bullpens, and play catch with it regularly at low speeds. And then find a pitching coach who can accurately gauge it for you. Ask him, say, hey, can you be brutally honest with my son, or can you be brutally honest with me and tell me, do you think his slider has potential to continue to get better over time? So if you came to me, I'd be looking for the spin, I'd be looking for the quality of break. I'd be like, you know what, his spin is just consistently not slider spin. It's just not very good. Or his curveball it's still got so much side spin mixed in. I don't think it's going to get a lot better. If he's been throwing it this long, it should be better by now. So let's try a slider. So get someone who's very qualified to give you honest feedback. And if you say, hey, this slider is not very good, I don't think you spin it very well, let's work on the curveball for a couple of weeks, and they can kind of gauge which of those pitches maybe is a better long-term fit. Because if you can get the spin right when you're young, the pitch will only get better. It will continue to get better. But if you can't produce the spin that actually makes a slider, or that actually makes a curveball, then it's going to be always an uphill battle. You don't want to have a little league curveball when you're in high school, and you don't want to have a high school caliber curveball when you're in college, because then they're going to make you switch again. They're going to teach you a new pitch. And that's the main reason that most players throw sliders in college and they throw sliders in pro ball. There's a lot more sliders thrown in both of those highest levels, because everyone learns a curveball first pretty much. And so when they get to college, it's like, hey, your curveball was good enough to be a high school varsity pitcher, but it's not good enough anymore. So now we got to teach you a better college quality pitch. And we hope that it's a college quality pitch. And if it's not, then you just can't get anybody out, and that's how things go. But more guys throw sliders later because it's the second pitch they learned. And it's trying to be, and they're probably getting better instruction because they're at a good high school or college program when they learn it. So that seems to be the common trend. So I hope this video helped. I know this was a little long, but I hope the timestamps and all that helped you. learning how to throw a slider versus how to throw a curveball is very important, and you want to pick the right pitch for your repertoire. All right. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I also have 2 pitching books and lots of online pitching courses. They're also linked in the description. You can sign up for my email list and follow me on Twitter, on social media, anywhere that you typically follow your favorite baseball experts. And I'll see you there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.